you have to get used to the fact that some people just aren't going to like you, and it's okay. I had a guy the other day tell me, he goes, I need your help. And I'm like, great, what can I do? I'd love to help you. He goes, well, I love your group, but you're an idiot. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, they kind of come together. And he's like, well, I really want you to do something about that because I don't like interacting with you. And I'm like, well, you're the one that reached out to me.
It became a $5,000 program. We just kept raising the price over and over again. We had like 1,000 people in it. There was a woman who joined at the 197 level. And after she joined, she messaged me and she said, hey, can I give you some feedback about why I almost didn't join? So she said, it's just the faces that you make in your video are very distracting. And then she said, oh no, it's not your dance parties. It's just your face. There's some things that maybe you feel insecure about at some point, or you felt insecure about at some point.
Absolutely.
By finding ways, like with the hat, or with like, I love big earrings, or, you know, I used to be really insecure about my gray here, not because it was gray, but because it looked like I had a bald spot on camera, because it was like, I would dye my hair and then just the gray would come in. And so I realized like that is creeping me out in my videos, and I'm like staring at it and feeling insecure. So instead I was like, well, what if we just turn the gray blue?
If somebody now tries to go out and they make a fake video of me, and of course there's plenty of video out there for them to grab and to train something, so that's possible, and they have me saying something that I don't believe, they have me purporting something that I don't, I now have enough video content out there and enough other content out there that 99% of the people, when given the chance to review it, would go, well, obviously that wasn't Jonathan, because he's never done that, he's never talked about that, that's not him, that's not congruent. Hi, and welcome to the 91-Day AI Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and man, this week has been an amazing week of podcast guests, and we're continuing that with Molly Mahoney. Molly and I actually just met face-to-face, as much as you can on video, for the first time about 5 minutes ago, but I've known Molly for years as I've been following her and all the amazing things that she's done, and it was good to hear, Molly, that you actually had a clue who I was, so that's always nice as well. Really excited for our conversation today because I think there's a whole lot of things that we have in common as far as interests, but I also really looking forward to getting your perspective on some of this. Molly, for those of people that may not know who you are, would you mind taking just a moment and sharing a little bit about yourself and who it is that you serve?
Sure. So as you said, I'm Molly Mahoney. My company is called The Prepared Performer. And while I was a professional musical theater performer for most of my life, now as I'm getting older, that's starting to shift, where I am a digital strategist and a marketer and a speaker and a coach and all those things for more of my life. So what we do is we help coaches, course creators, creative entrepreneurs to be able to grow their visibility, bring in clients, mainly using organic social, speaking on stage, real human connection. And since 2021, all of that has been powered by AI. And we have an amazing program called the Content Club, another one called AI Stars that we just launched. And we really focus on that authenticity piece, the human piece, and use AI to elevate that.
I love it. I love it. And that's one of the reasons I've been following you for years, is just learning all about that and implementing candidly some of your strategies from some of the courses that I've taken and all that into what I've done over the last couple of years to try to become that AI guy that's out there.
Well, you're doing a great job at it. Let's just say my one question that I had for you today was how on earth your nervous system handles a Facebook group that's as large and as active as you have, because I have managed Facebook groups like a small portion, like 100,000 people or something in the Facebook group. And I'm just so impressed at your ability to stay calm.
Well, there's a couple things. One, I'm now 55, so the amount of testosterone in my body is not as much as it used to be. And it makes a big difference, I'm telling you, because now my immediate response isn't, you idiot, I want to punch you. You know, was I managing this when I was 30, that would have probably been my immediate response. I appreciate you asking. It is, I will tell you, as you probably know, managing a big group is arduous and it's a pain in the butt.
It is wild. And so again, I'm just so impressed, and congrats, because I don't think, and I do a lot online, obviously, but I don't think I could handle a group of that size. And so
it's a passion project, and I got to give huge credit to my team because they take so much of the moderation off, which means the emotional stuff isn't a big deal for me, you know.
Yeah.
And as you know, Molly, I mean, this is a great segue, but you have to get used to the fact that some people just aren't going to like you, and it's okay. You know, I had a guy the other day tell me, he goes, I need your help. And I'm like, great, what can I do? I'd love to help you. He goes, well, I love your group, but you're an idiot. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, they kind of come together. And he's like, well, I really want you to do something about that because I don't like interacting with you. And I'm like, well, you're the one that reached out to me and I started the group and I'm the admin. So there's really no way to be. And I'm like, and he's like, and he was just going, he's like, but I don't like you. And I'm like, well, then you really have a couple of options. You can leave the group, or you can decide the group adds enough value to put up with whatever it is about me that's driving you crazy. And he was literally mad at me about that. And I'm like, dude, what did you want me to do? I mean, really, what do you want me to do? But I try to laugh about those.
Wait, so similarly, I had a long time ago, like we had a program called Camera Confidence, right? And we launched
I remember that. Yeah.
That was like our big thing. We focused on Facebook Live. And it was called Camera Confidence. We launched it at $47. Then the next month I raised it to $97, then $197, and eventually it became a $5,000 program. We just kept raising the price over and over again. We had like 1,000 people in it. It was awesome. There was a woman who joined at the $197 level. And after she joined, she messaged me and she said, hey, can I give you some feedback about why I almost didn't join? And this was a very long time ago. And I was nervous, but I was open and I wanted to know how I could improve. Right. So she said, it's just the faces that you make in your video are very distracting. And I was like, oh. And so at the time, this is before Facebook would shut you down if you were using music that wasn't approved or, whatever you didn't have rights to. And I said at the time I would do these like dance parties at the beginning, like they were kind of crazy and I'm sure they were annoying to a lot of people, but I was doing my best. So
but that's who you are. I mean, so what?
Yeah, totally. So I wrote her back and I said, yeah, a lot of people, I understand you may not like our dance parties. A lot of people find them really fun and it's a good way to make sure everybody gets on for the video. And then she said, oh no, it's not your dance parties. It's just your face.
Thank you so much. I mean, do you wonder, I mean, where did you never read Miss Manners? Did you never understand that, you don't need to say negative things to people, but oh well,
my gosh. And so I wrote her back and this was probably my first like foray into really leaning into, I did a post yesterday about how you can have empathy and set boundaries at the same time.
That was a great post, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is my first foray really into that, to be like, I'm going to respond with love and also I'm going to protect myself. So I said, like, thank you so much for the feedback. And this is really a part of what we're here to share, is that that's my actual face. Like, I'm not faking the faces that I'm making. That's who I am in real life. And I really encourage you to lean into who you are in real life. And you'll find that some people won't like it, but they may still buy from you, just like you bought from me. Okay.
Absolutely.
She wrote back and she said, oh my gosh, this like changed everything about the way I show up on camera, which, by the way, I saw your video about camera stuff the other day, which I liked.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So, she said, this is really going to affect the way I show up on camera. And for listening to the trainings, I'm just going to put a book over your face.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. You can't win. And as you know, when you build an audience, there's some people that seem to live for trying to ruin your day. And right. I've just accepted that, if you're not comfortable with who I am at this point, I'm 55 years old, I'm overweight, I've got a long white beard, and, I wear a hat because my hair's, I'm losing what's up here. So, if you're not good with that, I'm sorry, I can't change it. So, have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Well, and you do such a great job of what we teach in our strategy called the Quesadilla of Awesome. And it's really making something. So part of the Quesadilla of Awesome is about your appearance. And the whole thing is really how you show up as your full self, and you bring your full self into everything that you do, because everyone has something that makes them awesome, even if it's
absolutely.
Even if it's just that they make an amazing quesadilla. So with you, like the way you have the white beard stuff, all of that put together. I don't know if you've seen my brother. Have you ever seen my brother before?
I don't know if I have. No, I don't think so, Molly.
He's known as Little Paul Bunyan.
I love it.
Okay. He's a lumberjack. He's like a chainsaw carver professionally and runs our family's urban lumber showroom. We have my family has a tree trimming business. And
so cool.
It's really cool. He won Best Natural Beard in Orange County 2 years in a row. So I feel like you guys definitely need to meet at some point.
I would love to.
Of the beard. But yeah, you do a great job of bringing who you are as a human. And the thing I love about it is, like you said, which I'm grateful that you mentioned this, is that there's some things that maybe you feel insecure about at some point, or you felt insecure about at some point. Oh, absolutely. But by finding ways, like with the hat, or with, like, I love big earrings, or, I used to be really insecure about my gray here not because it was gray, but because it looked like I had a bald spot on camera, because it was like I would dye my hair and then just the gray would come in. And so I realized like that is creeping me out in my videos, and I'm like staring at it and feeling insecure. So instead I was like, well, what if we just turn the gray blue? Whatever.
There you go. I love it.
And now it's just more gray than anything, but here we are.
Well, I believe that means we're just wiser, Molly, than we used to be.
Agree.
So that's okay.
I agree.
No, I think we could go on and on about that, and I'd love to, because I think it's so intriguing what happens when you do that and the things. I for one, I like to be really transparent. I mean, I still get insecure sometimes about going on camera. The difference is it doesn't stop me from doing that. I've accepted the fact that I am who I am today. And some days that means that my beard's messed up because I just got off my motorcycle and I had an idea of a video I wanted to record, and I grabbed my iPhone and I didn't grab my brush and I didn't do this. And, and if you don't like that one, that's okay. I'm fine with that. You mentioned one that I did the other day, literally sitting at my desk, but I did it on my iPhone because I was doing a live training, and people were like, but I don't have the guts to do the video. And I'm like, well, let's just record one right here. The background was off. The background was off. Everything else, the camera's moving around because I'm holding it with my hand. The mic wasn't incredible because I just used my iPhone. But you know what? That video still got thousands of views and hopefully inspired a few people. And if it did, great. I'm thrilled with it.
I love that. And two things on that, actually. So I have made a very intentional decision to purposefully record shorts with no makeup on at all. And I'm always like super close to my face because I want to make sure that I'm never held back by the fact that I feel like I need to match a certain aesthetic that I've created. So I intentionally do sloppy things so that I will be okay in moments like that. I don't have a motorcycle, but when I hop off the dance floor or whatever. My husband just came in and brought me coffee. So I was like being grateful but distracted.
And he didn't come on camera. Oh man,
I know,
that's
he
a bummer.
snuck to the side. So now I have the coffee that I made myself in my little Disney mug, and I love it. Starbucks at the same time.
Great husband. That's awesome.
He is.
Well, you bring up a point I want to talk about. So, one of the things I learned early on, and I'm going to give you credit for this because I know you taught this, was just to go live and not worry about it. And going live is the big deal that it was 5 years ago. That taught me so much about making video because I realized there was no second take. There was no opportunity to go, uh-oh, my hat was wrong. Or as I did the other day, I literally recorded a video and my hair probably looks like it does right now. It wasn't. And I forgot to even put a hat on. But you know what? It was recorded and it was posted before I thought about it. And I'd love to get your perspective. Live isn't as big of a deal as it was a couple years ago. Yeah. But I still think it's an incredible way if you're looking to learn, how do I get in front of my audience? Because video is the way to do that. I think going live is a great way to teach yourself how to do that because there are no retakes. It's out there. And you know what? And as soon as you do 10 of those, you're like, you know what? It's okay. The world didn't end because I forgot to comb my hair. The world didn't end because a semi drove by and people could hear it. Was it perfect? No, but it still got it done. And it reminds me a lot of Russell Brunson, where he shares the first video that he did, which is really corny. You've probably seen him do that because he shares that all the time.
Same thing with Peng Joon. Have you seen Peng Joon share
same exact thing. Yeah,
so funny.
We've got to suck at it before we get good at it. And so getting comfortable with not being perfect, I think, is really critical with that. What's your perspective on that today? Because live's not as important, but do you still think that's an important thing to do when you're learning how to get comfortable on video?
Yeah, I think there's two reasons that live videos are really important still for our business. One, it's great insight to realize how important it is for ourselves. When I first created Camera Confidence, I didn't have anything recorded. I had an empty Facebook group and I went live once a day, every day for 30 days inside that group. I had a spreadsheet of what I wanted to teach, like the order, and then I just went live every day. By the end of it, it went really well. I did it again for another 30 days. Then the third month, I was halfway through the month and I was like, okay, I can finally start repurposing this. I don't need to actually deliver this live. So I do think that we learn something every time that we mess something up in the way that we recover. It's the same thing as speaking on stage, right? Which, Oh, yeah. It's rare that I get off stage and I don't go, oh, I wish I would have added in this little piece. But what's really cool is that I no longer look at it like, oh, I messed up. I look at it like, ooh, this would be a cool idea to add in next time.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Or this would
No,
be a
at
cool thing to
100%.
remove next time more often. Right?
You mean I'm not the only one that goes, why did I say that? Oh, well.
One time I got off stage, this was a really long time ago, and someone said, did you have a video that generated $1 million? And I was like, no. And then what I had tried to say was 1 million views.
Yes.
And I accidentally somehow said dollars. He was like, I swear you said dollars. And I went back and watched the recording, and I was just like in it. And somehow I did say dollars.
Yeah, I've been there. Let's talk a little bit about AI. So
Okay.
I know you've really embraced that. And I love the fact that, again, we all come from different perspectives. I'd love to hear from your perspective, especially as a performer and as somebody who's teaching people like you've taught me how to be on camera and how to get out there and how to do things. How do you address the people that are like, AI is cool, but it's not me?
Yeah. Okay. Or people thinking, here's a really good example of it, actually. And this person now is a really good friend of mine, and I just had dinner with his wife and his daughter. I was speaking at NAMM, the National Association for Music Merchants, last year. I ran a 3-hour AI workshop, and I was teaching our system on how to use AI to create an ideal client avatar, create a list of buying beliefs that get that person to want to buy, and then to instantly create 3 months of content.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this, and someone in the audience raised their hand, and they said, this is great. And I own a horn repair shop. And he said, my skill set hasn't changed since the 1800s, so I really don't understand how this applies to me. And I think a lot of people have a block like that where they see this as something, some people see it as something that's scary. Some people see it as something that's removing human creativity. Like I work for we have a client that is a theater company, and we get messages sometimes like, not AI, no, like people freaking out.
Yes.
And I get in that industry, it's a real disruptor. And I love this week, as we're recording this, that several people have made this joke. I heard Jon Stewart say it first, but it's finally we get to the point where AI steals a job from AI with DeepSeek.
With DeepSeek, yes, yeah.
So I get that. But with this person, I was like, okay, well, let's try this for your horn shop. So we went through the process for his horn shop. And as you know, what you put in, it affects what you get out. And I didn't have a lot of information. Right. So we did this, and he said, that's great. It's just a little bland, and I'm a little snarkier than that. And so I replied to the whole chat thread, and I said, this is awesome. Can you please write it as a snarky jerk? Is what I said in the chat. And then it wrote 3 months of content. And what was crazy, and I wish that I had this fully recorded, and I don't, but the screen was huge. There was like 600 people. The screen was huge. And as the content was being written on the screen, it was so funny, like
I bet.
funny. And AI is not the best at being funny usually. So it was so funny. And you could hear from the audience, like pockets of laughter, just like coming up out. It was so funny because everyone was reading it at a different time. But in that moment, he was like, okay, you convinced me. Like there's ways that if I put my personality into this, that it actually can reflect the kind of energy and the brand that I'm looking to create. But the other thing is that it's not going away. Like people are getting more and more open to the fact that if they don't get on this train, if they don't at least understand how to communicate about AI, that they're going to get taken advantage of. Their customer, or not their customers, maybe they're going to be outperformed by everybody else. And it's really like it's a fine dance.
Yeah, I love the way you say it. It is a dance. It is about training and making sure that, again, you tell the AI stuff that the people that I find normally are saying that, nothing against them, but they haven't experimented with it enough. In other words, if you just go to ChatGPT and say, write me a social media post about a giraffe and a mouse, it's going to be boring. It's not going to have much that's going to go on. But if I tell it my style, my personality, like you said, if I say, I'm a little snarky, I often add the word for me, I want to make it punchy and slightly humorous. It's not very humorous, but I'm not very humorous either. So that works out really well. But I do tend to be a little punchy with stuff. And it's amazing how doing that, you can create content that still is absolutely content that I thought of, content that I wanted to create. But now, instead of me taking a half an hour to do that, or an hour, or sometimes many hours, I can have it done in moments. We did this yesterday, and you can probably relate. We had a new lead magnet that we sent out, and then that actually got me a speaking gig. And at the speaking gig, we gave away a bonus for everybody that was at the event. And I realized yesterday, after I got done speaking at the event, that I don't have a nurture campaign in place for all these new people that are going to take this. Normally, that would be crap. Okay, I got to put it tomorrow aside. I got to write that nurture campaign. I literally grabbed my phone, explained the event I was at, shared the link so that it could go pull their website, said, here's what I gave away. I need a 7-email nurture campaign, and I want to use this style. Go. And by the time I'd walked to my kitchen, which is about 50 feet away, the 7-email campaign was done. I sent it over to my marketing person, and I said, just to give this a quick once over, make sure it makes sense, find any errors. And she wrote back and she goes, I changed like 4 words. And this whole process was done in 30 minutes. And that used to take us hours, but it still represented me because I've trained ChatGPT. Here's Jonathan's tone. Here's Jonathan's style. Here's the type of things we want to talk about. It's trained on my business. And like you, the trainings and the philosophies and the things that we teach to people. And so all of that came in automatically. The difference is I didn't need to sit and spend 3 hours doing it. I literally spent 50 feet worth of walking doing it and grabbing my phone and talking into it to get it done.
And most people currently won't take the time that you have to actually season the AI assistant or to create a custom GPT that's based on their like deep human stuff, right? So that's such a huge impact of it too. And then they'll look at the emails and be like, oh, this doesn't really work. But it's because they haven't taken the time to do all that ahead of time. What's also really cool, and I don't know how much you've played with it, but you then could go back to AI once you've set it up properly and say to operator, go in and add this copy into my high level account or my ConvertKit account. I wouldn't say go automatically schedule these emails because I'd want to read them over first and make sure all the links are set up properly. But
you and I have that same paranoia. Yes.
Yeah. It definitely could go in. Like last night before I went to bed, I told the operator, hey, I'm speaking at Affiliate Summit West. Here's the website. Please go pull a list of all the speakers, take their first name, last name, and company, put it into a spreadsheet with the headers, first name, last name, company. And by the time that I woke up, I had everybody's information in a spreadsheet organized so that I could connect with people.
I love it. I love it. Well, you mentioned the operator, and that's a fairly new thing as we record this. I mean, it's only been out for a couple of weeks. What are you seeing people use the ChatGPT operator to do? I mean, as you mentioned, it could literally take that, throw that into high level and everything. What are some other things that are applicable that you, or maybe you're doing with your clients related to that, Molly?
Yeah. I mean, at first it seemed like everybody was talking about how it could book flights and book dinners. And, at NAM, I was like, find us a restaurant. And it found us Benihana's at 8:00. We wanted to go to Morton's, which was closer. And we used our relationship with people to get in at a table that was sooner than the AI could get us. But
Love it.
It's cool that you can, it can do that. That for me is not the best use case. Mm-hmm. What I'm actually really excited about are things that have been on our list for years that we haven't taken the time to do, like I said, with sourcing data so that we can go back in as human beings, organizing things. I have found that it gets stuck a little bit, and I don't know if you've played with it to this level, but did you know that it comes with all these like pre-seeded websites?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So for anybody who hasn't done this, if you go into the settings, you can see that it suggests a bunch of websites for you to use. And then you can go in and set ahead of time how you want it to interact with that website. Because, and I don't really know exactly why, I would need to do a little more research on it, but there were some websites that it would get to and it'd be like, oh, we can't access this website. And this was, it's interesting that then you have to click like, please continue. And I want to get to the point where I find the balance between the security side of it and the convenience. So I'm like, again, it's another dance that I'm doing to see once I get the systems down,
I do. And actually, that's an incredible topic to talk about because with DeepSeek just coming out, the Chinese AI that everybody's talking about, that balance of security and convenience, I think, is getting more and more real. Now, I got to admit, I find the whole kerfuffle, so to speak, about a Chinese AI to be very interesting, because many of the people that are all up in arms about, oh my gosh, we can't use a Chinese AI. And by the way, I'm not purporting that we do.
And they're
But
posting about it on TikTok.
They've been using TikTok for the last 3 years, you know, and they got CapCut on their phones that they're using for video editing, but we can't use the AI from China. And to me, there's an incongruity there.
Hold on that. Like, what are they putting into their AI that they think isn't already on the internet? Because that's the other thing.
Thank you.
Like, most of this is actually already on the internet. So when people ask that, have the same concern about ChatGPT, I'm like, but don't you know that it's already trained on everything you've shared online? So you are putting things out there about your kids, about your whatever. So I think we're all already screwed.
You and I have the same philosophy there. I love it because we've never talked about this. But, you know, I was speaking the other day and somebody asked me about that. And I said, well, let me give you my perspective of where I come from before I tell you my thoughts on it. So I was in Oklahoma City at the time speaking to all of the marketing basically departments of all the universities in Oklahoma. And I said, I'm standing here in Oklahoma City at this particular college speaking to you this morning, and I absolutely believe that any government agency that wants to know where Jonathan is right now knows where I am, knows that I'm actually standing in front of you, and actually knows what I'm talking to you about. Because, by the way, this recording I did, or the presentation's all been done in Canva, which is in the cloud and everything else. So if they truly care, they already know.
Now, and could predict what you're going to say next, which is a great point, because you already prepped your presentation. So.
And the second part is, I don't care that they know that I'm in Oklahoma City and that I'm talking to you and that they know about my presentation, because I'm happy to share it with the entire world that I'm doing this. So it's not a big deal. Now, am I saying that we shouldn't be cognizant? No, I'm not. But I'd love to get your perspective again, and maybe I'm just being cynical. But I love the fact, like I said, that I'm just seeing people get in this huge kerfuffle about this Chinese AI tool, when these are the same people that were all upset last week when I was in Mexico that TikTok went away. And oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life because I no longer have my TikTok?
And like TikTok and CapCut, which I get, CapCut is like a great video editing tool.
Oh, it is.
But people lost their minds, and it wasn't even gone for 24 hours. So I totally agree with you on that. The one thing that I do find interesting is that I've seen a lot of people saying that the information that DeepSeek is giving them is not real sometimes, like about...
Well, certainly if it's about anything in Tiananmen Square, you're right. It's not going to be real. I mean, this is a Chinese-owned company controlled by the Chinese government at some level. I don't know how much because I don't live there, but it's censored. But so is OpenAI. I mean, go try to ask OpenAI some questions and it'll tell you it won't. You can ask Google things that aren't censored and it'll just tell you it won't do it because it's not trained to do that. So I get it.
Sorry, with all of the things that we're doing with AI, and sometimes because of that, I hear people say, well, I'm not going to use AI because of that. But that is why I think it's even more important for us to put our information into AI so that it's not all jerks feeding the system, but we are feeding it with positivity. We are feeding it with, we haven't like talked about this, but we are feeding it with things that are like inclusive and representing all humans instead of it only coming from one side that's not actually putting a real representation of what humanity is. So,
I totally agree with you. And it actually brings me to a point that I was going to try to get to with you. My mind's spinning, so I got to get back to this. Don't forget, Jonathan. A lot of people I know are worried about fakes. It's like, I'm just worried because I don't know what to believe. Now, my belief on that is, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who wants to have influence on others, that means it's more important now than ever that I have real video content and I have real content that I've created, even if AI is assisting me with it, that is out there. Because in my mind, I've got, you look at my YouTube channel, which is not my greatest feat in the world. We just passed 10,000 viewers and I should have a lot more. I should have a lot more, but I don't.
That actually makes me feel better about my life also. So thank you. Because mine is not, it's there, but it's not it's not our best platform either. Let's commit to fixing that this year.
Yes, amen. Let's do it. Okay, done. But, if I've got 1,200 videos I've put out there, probably 1,000 of them are shorts. That's fine.
Yeah.
If somebody now tries to go out and they make a fake video of me, and of course there's plenty of video out there for them to grab and to train something, so that's possible. And they have me saying something that I don't believe. They have me purporting something that I don't. I now have enough video content out there and enough other content out there that 99% of the people, when given the chance to review it, would go, well, obviously that wasn't Jonathan, because he's never done that. He's never talked about that. That's not him. That's not congruent. But yet I hear people going, oh, this is why I can't do anything. No, this is exactly why you need to be doing something. This is why video, and I know you agree, but I got to preach for just a moment. You have one of these in your pocket, use it and record video, because when thank you. When it's you, even when it's not, and especially when it's not perfect, now there's this library of content out there that if somebody put something out and it was not the Molly Mahoney that I've known and got to know over the years, to me, it would immediately ring false. And I'd go, well, that can't be right. And if you then in the next couple of days came out and said, hey, somebody made a fake video about me and this isn't me, I'd go, oh yeah, it makes sense. I didn't sound like Molly. But if you had no content there, then I'd have nothing to base it on.
100,000,000%. I was like laughing a little bit when you said this earlier, because when you asked about live video before, I said there were 2 reasons it was important, but then we got sidetracked.
I interrupted you. Yeah.
No. That is perfect, because that was a really good open loop, by the way. So if you're a speaker, like drop open loops like that, because someone must have been wondering, what was the second reason that she said live video was important? So now here we are closing that loop for you. That is the other reason that live video is so important as a forward facing thing, because it gives people the chance to see how you are as an actual human. And then like compared to the AI stuff, like there's going to be nuance. It's a great way to have what we call authenticity indicators.
Yes.
We're so big about the library of content, and in your library of content, I believe it's important to have a mix of, short form videos that's just you kind of off the cuff. Things that are you on stage that shows authority, which you've got some great videos like that too. Things that are AI and maybe a little fun and whatever, and like poke into that and easy. And things that are live and even, like, dare I say, long form, where people can see how you react when things go wrong. People can see how you react when someone asks a question. One time, a couple months ago, I was doing a live stream in a Facebook group, and we were about 20 minutes in, and I don't even remember this person's name, which is kind of funny, but this woman got in the chat and she was like, I cannot believe I've stayed here for 20 minutes. This isn't anything new. Like totally went off. And I don't get snarky very often like this, but last year was really difficult for me. I had my arm in a cast for 9 months, which thank goodness for AI, because I don't know what I would have done, but it was really hard for me. My mom had passed away. My dog passed away on my husband's birthday. It was so bad. And I took my slides down and I was like, listen, Linda. And it wasn't Linda, but
I love it.
Like minorly freaked out. I probably should repurpose that video, because what I had been sharing wasn't all the like really hardcore tactical stuff that I love to get into. It was more about who we are as human beings and making sure that we're committed to our greater vision and like that kind of stuff, which is probably more important than all the other shiz that we talk about. And everyone in the chat was like going off, cheering me on. And that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't live. I would have had a moment to kind of like regroup and probably be a little, I get snarky sometimes, especially with trolls, but that live essence is something that you can't fake. It's a real thing. Your energy is contagious, no matter what you're doing. So, yeah.
No, I had a similar experience not too long ago on a training that I was doing, and it was a paid training, and they bought it, and they're basically like, Jonathan, you're an hour into this, and I've got all this off of your YouTube channel. And I actually responded and I said, you're right. If you paid for this because you were expecting to have an insight of stuff that I've never, ever talked about before, you've probably wasted your money. Let me know. I'll give you a refund. You're getting this because you're getting access to me and my team. Where I've got Q&A, and you're going to get little nuances that come up. And I thought I was fairly nice about it. But what was amazing is the chat erupted. We had almost 300 people on this class, and the chat erupted with basically people going, don't you dare ask for a refund, because this is who he is. What do you expect? And I did a video after that, and I said, some people ask me, should I buy your courses? And the answer is, if $97, which is what I charge for a lot of my courses, at least the initial ones, if $97 is going to bankrupt you, don't buy it. Just go watch my YouTube channel. You're going to put 80 hours into it to try to find what I'm going to cover in 2, but it's probably there. And if $97 is a big deal, and I don't mean to be rude, and people are like, you're rude, I'm not. No, I'm being honest.
It's true.
If 90s, but that applies to anybody. I mean, if I want to learn your stuff, I want to learn stuff from Russell Brunson, I want to learn stuff from Peng Joon, anybody like that, I can go probably, if I have enough time, put most of it together. But I don't have time for that, and many people don't, nor do I have the desire in my ADD world to do that. So I'd far rather pay somebody to condense it and give me the stuff I really want, Molly, and give it to me in 2 hours. Thank you.
Yeah. And, the first person I heard mention that was actually Pat Flynn years and years ago.
Yes,
He talked
I love Pat.
Yeah, he talked about how he had put this whole lead architecture, whatever. He was like out. He was, if people don't know the story, he was basically taking his notes as he was getting lead certified and putting them into blog posts. And he didn't know that it was getting massive reach. So when he saw that it was getting massive reach, he was like, oh my gosh, he freaked out. He put it all into a book, and then he sold that book for like $47, which is a lot for a book, right? But what he said was people pay for the organization. People
Absolutely.
pay to have it in that more organized fashion. But the other piece, I think two of the things that you said are so important, especially for people who are worried about putting out content for free and how to know what to charge. Two things. One is the proximity, the access that you get to people in that. Like for both of us, a lot of our content is already on the internet. You could go ask ChatGPT, what would Molly Mahoney say about this in terms of content, whatever. And it's going to pull from my content. But the proximity, because of the nuance in what you were saying, like those little things that sometimes I don't even know I'm going to say, but because someone asked a question, we all collectively learn something new. And then the other thing is the relationships that you build by joining programs like that, memberships like that. You cannot recreate that by going and watching some YouTube video.
100% agreed. And I just think it's so important. And yeah, I don't know how we end up in these rabbit trails. You get me, my ADD, and I told you going into this, there's no agenda here, Molly. We're going to converse. And I love how this is transpiring. I love it. Absolutely love it. As we bring the plane in for landing, I want to ask you really two questions. One, I'd love to hear from your perspective. We talked prep on the call. 2024 was a whirlwind with AI, and I think 2025 is going to be 2 to 3 times that. I could play the role and say it's going to be 10x that. It's going to just be amplified big time. For that business owner, that influencer, that business leader that's listening today and says, okay, I've been sitting on the sidelines, I've been playing with ChatGPT, but I haven't really done it. What would you recommend that they do in the next couple of months? I always say the next 91 days, 3 months. If they were going to say, all right, I need to start implementing AI in my business, what things should they look at? Because they can't do it all, and it's probably not a good idea to ignore it. So based upon that, what would you say, hey, based on my experience, here's what you should be looking at in the next couple months?
Okay, I'm going to start off with a tip that's really silly, but I swear it works, and I've seen people do this. Like I was at an event once where I saw someone do this on their own when I wasn't speaking, and I was like freaked out and amazed and so excited. So the first thing, because there is so much information out there, this is a little weird, silly trick that I'm going to give you. So do you know what I'm doing if I do my hands like this?
I do, yeah. So go for it.
Put your hands like this. And then you're just going to whisper into your hands. You're going to say, decide.
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 Whisper.
And then what I'm doing is I'm giving you a decision cap. So on the count of 3, we're going to put it on together. Let's do it together.
I love it.
Ready on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Decide.
Oh, I love it. I felt like this wave go over me. Literally. That's so cool.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Is it seems silly, but every time I do it, we do it on almost all of our calls. I literally feel like my whole body transforms, and it gives me, and I don't know if it's like that, when you were a little, I don't know, like I'm doing something with my hair, I don't know, but there's something that happens where you shift your energy, especially in weeks where new things come out, like with DeepSeek and all of that, with the TikTok thing, even though that wasn't really AI, like people legitimately freaking out, that is not going to help your business. So
yes,
let's like give yourself some sort of internal barometer to know, and this is something I'm going to actually create. Like a series of questions that allow you to know, should I move forward with this? Is this actually the best use of my time? And with DeepSeek, that's been a big question of mine is like, yes, for some people, that level of speed is very important. But for a lot of people, do you need that? I don't actually know. Right?
No.
Yeah. So get your own decision-making barometer in place. It's like make a decision.
Love that.
Important. Then the second thing is, get your friggin' brand voice dialed in. And so I'm sure Jonathan has a strategy on it. I have a strategy on it. Like the biggest thing that I would say is actually probably collect several people's strategies on it, But
100%.
I know, and for us, what we do is we put your company details in. We have this giant PDF that we build out for our clients where we get your brand voice. We use this really cool thing called the spotlight effect that I created over the holidays that I'm obsessed with, that gives it, like, takes all the things that make you unique and your offers unique, and then it distills it down into these little slogans and things like that. It creates an enemy avatar. It creates the hero that's going to, it does like the hero's journey. And having that kind of data, having ideal client data, having your quesadilla of awesome dialed in, and put that into AI and create something like a custom GPT or a gem in Gemini,
Yes.
whatever it is, your own tool with something like MindPal, create something that is your voice. That's number 2.
Great advice.
Yeah. And then the third thing I would say is look at within your business, what, like, for lack of a better term, what workflows are you doing? What processes are you constantly repeating? And we often look at content creation for this because I think content is important for all business owners. But oftentimes it's like your onboarding. It's and people who are coaches who are very committed to the fact that their world is bespoke and nothing is duplicatable. That is not true usually. Unless you're like some actual wizard that like sits there and does some meditation and then like you're an alchemist and things come out of the air. But for most of us, we use some sort of process. I love the Khalil Gibran quote that we rest in reason and we move in passion, the rudder and the sails.
That's so good.
Isn't that good? I like come back to it all the time. For people like you and I who are a little kooky and ADD, like this is really weird, but the movie Temple Grandin?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So in that movie, Temple Grandin has autism, and she is helping cows to be able to feel more calm as they're going through what they're going through. And I look at it like a weighted blanket. Like for me, she creates this thing that like gives her a hug that helps her to calm down based off what the cows have. It's a really good movie. True story.
Oh, it is. Great story. Great story.
It's so good. But for me, that's what the systems do for me. That's why I love spreadsheets, because I can take my crazy and I can put it into a framework or a system. And if you can do that, the more often that you can do that in your business, use AI to help you with it. And then use a tool like, I love MindPal so much, where you can stack these AI assistants on top of each other, and they can work autonomously. All you have to do is start the flow, and then the whole thing goes. This is going to be coming to other platforms like with Operator and Tasks mixed together. But if right now you don't know what your actual system is, who cares what the AI can do? You've got to have your systems dialed in as a human being and as a business before you use AI. Those are my 3 things.
So good. So good. Oh, love it. Best tip yet. I love it. Fantastic. Fantastic. There was a second part to that I was going to ask. And of course, that is long left because you got me on so many other great ideas. But fantastic opportunity. Molly, if people want to reach out to you, and let me recommend everything I've ever done in Molly's training is worth gold. So if people want to reach out, they want to learn, they like your style, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, Molly?
Okay. This is something, even though I know we're not preparing, this is
Go
something
for
I
it.
should have asked you ahead of time as to like, what am I cool to share?
Anything you want. I don't care. This is all about Molly right now.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a little special link for you, which we did not talk about ahead of time. But I'm going to say go to molly.live/JM, which is your initials, right? Molly.live/JM. And I'm going to give you, this is very secret, so don't tell people who are not here, because I don't have this available publicly anymore. But I'm going to give you a trial of our AI content club so you can see kind of the magic of what we're doing behind the scenes there. It's going to be very secret. So,
Thank you so much, Molly. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, and for those people that are wondering how we're going to pull this off, we've got a couple weeks yet between the time we're recording this and the time it goes live. So if you're listening to this, it's already been done. But Molly and I recorded this a couple weeks earlier. Molly, let me say thank you. That's amazing.
I live for creating things on the fly like that. We just launched our new program called AI Stars. When I sold it on the training, all I had was a checkout page. I did not have a Facebook group. I did not have the course put together. And by the time it all happened, you make magic. You've got AI. The link will be done within 10 minutes. It'll be perfect.
I love that I'm not the only one that does that. My wife is my operational genius, and she is, and I'm not. And she's constantly going, how can you come up with ideas and decide to sell them before we've implemented them? I'm like, because you do such a great job of implementing them. That's why. It's so easy. I love that I'm not the only one that dreams stuff up, and then I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that. And then they're like, you just told how many people we're going to do that? And I'm like, yeah, we'll have it done in the next couple of days, And, it's interesting you say that, and as people that may be laughing at us or thinking we're crazy, I want to let people know when you do that and when you have, you are very authentic, and I hope I come across as authentic.
You do.
I just recently had one of those, bunch of people in my group, they're like, oh, there's so much and we can't keep track of it. I'm like, you know what? We're going to put out a new daily newsletter. It's going to be the curated, the best of. If you want it, go sign up. And people are like, when's it going to be available? I'm like, probably about a week, but I've got to get somebody on staff to help me out with it. We missed that probably about a week by 2 weeks. So it was really simple. I was just honest. And I'm like, guys, I said I was going to do it. We are going to do it. And by the way, we launched it 2 days ago. We're going to get it done. But I got a little bit over my head and I needed to bring some help on. And you know what? Nobody was mad. Nobody was frustrated. Nobody went, oh my gosh, Jonathan, you told us it was going to be a couple weeks and it's been 3. Everybody was like, oh, okay. Because just be authentic and go and tell everybody, guys, you asked, I jumped, I'm ADD. I make a joke out of it all the time. ADD is my superpower, okay? Because it means I do things really fast. But I jumped and I estimated and I was off by a week. Just be honest about it. Nobody cared. Nobody was mad, but I also didn't try to hide from it and go, no, I didn't say it was going to be a couple weeks. I said a few weeks. No, I told a couple weeks. It ended up being a few weeks. I screwed up. Sorry, guys. Here it is. Nobody cared.
I really quick, because I know we're out of time, but I put together this list about, I had this post that did so well. I'll send it to you if you have show notes or whatever.
Please.
The hook of it was live video is dead, which is like the final close to that question
I love
about
it.
live video. And I ended up writing it as a post on my way back from Hawaii. I was at the first Jasper event in Hawaii in 2021 or something crazy, an AI event a long time before ChatGPT. And as I was flying back, I put this 8 things that you could do to keep your live video working really well, because live video is not working the way that it used to.
Yeah.
And tip number 6 on this list of 8 was tell the truth. It was like tell the truth. So exactly what you're saying. And then tip number 7 was, let me say that again, tell the truth. So I can't reiterate enough how important that is and how much people will trust you if you are sharing things from a real place. If you're trying to be tricky all along the way, that's where you're going to lose people. When things go wrong, if you're telling the truth, you will build that trust over time. And that is like the real key to everything. So I love it. So good.
What a great way to bring the plane in for a landing. Molly, thank you so much for your time today. We have definitely got to do this again, and we got to figure out how to go have dinner at Morton's, because that sounds a whole lot better than even the podcast. I'm loving this, but come on.
Oh my gosh. Hey, also, I forgot to say, if because usually I mention this and I'm like so bad because I keep saying I forgot. What I usually do, and I can't believe I spaced on this, is on my Instagram. If you go comment on my Instagram, The Prepared Performer, with the word voice, VOICE, I will send you our whole system for making sure that you have the proper information for your brand voice in your prompts. I can't believe I didn't mention it earlier.
Awesome.
Just comment on any post on Instagram, The Prepared Performer.
Awesome. Great tip. Thank you again, Molly. So much value, so much incredible wisdom. Again, thank you for the role you've played in teaching me all of this over the years. It is so great now to actually meet somebody that I've looked up to as somebody that's been guiding me, and now have an opportunity to chat with you. This has been an incredible pleasure. Thank you so very much. I want to thank all of you if you've joined us and enjoyed this very fun and lively conversation. I'd love your feedback. We'd love it if you'd subscribe, and we thank you more than anything else for your time. With that, everybody, make it a great day, and we'll see you on the other side. Bye, everybody.